I'm going to explain to you, lovely folks, why I think everyone should have at least 2,000 XRP today. And that, in my opinion, is the bare minimum. I'll explain why I think so, and I'll give you all a ton of instances of what's happening now and what I think will happen in the future to make that possible. I would like to remind everyone that this is not financial advice. A complete disclaimer is included in the video's description. Now let's watch the video. I want to start by discussing what is actually happening today. Today has been a huge day for the cryptocurrency market once again. Numerous companies are adopting cryptocurrency at quite high levels. We are purchasing 1620 Bitcoin as part of a micro plan. For its treasury, Trump Media is going out and purchasing $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. Indeed, Trump's media is preparing to purchase XRP as well. They declared that they will be introducing a blue-chip ETF. And since XRP is a part of the ETF, the widespread institutional acceptance is undoubtedly here. And yes, I do think that some organizations like MicroStrategy will be adding a significant amount of XRP to their treasury in the very near future. Having said that, as a result of the ongoing investigation into the Federal Reserve and the apparent resignation of Jerome Powell, interest rates are likely to decline, which will once more contribute to the trillions of dollars of liquidity that will be added to the stock, cryptocurrency, and real estate markets. Indeed, as we have seen from past examples, there is approximately a 90% price correlation between increased liquidity and the price of Bitcoin rising and XRP rising shortly after. All of this is only short-term, but it will have a significant long-term impact on the price of riskier asset classes. Before we discuss the intricacies of obtaining XRP and all of that amazing things, I need to conclude by discussing one last current phenomenon. Gold prices are up 20%. As more people become aware that the current financial system is not designed to serve them, this trend is likely to continue as more money is printed. Therefore, it goes without saying that people will keep searching for better and better alternatives. Once you know that Bitcoin has reached its maximum level of widespread adoption and has essentially peaked, people will also begin to consider alternatives to Bitcoin. It's a normal cycle. While the US currency is strong, Bitcoin is weak. All right. So essentially what I'm doing here is trying to stay ahead of the curve and demonstrate to you all why I believe my thesis will soon come to fruition. I want to start by discussing the actual size of the world's XRP holdings. When I asked Grok this question, it conducted a thorough analysis using all of the information that was available online and all of the various posts across X. We can see that the adoption of XRP is more important in an institutional and financial context than it is in a retail setting. As of 2025, more than 300 financial institutions in 45 countries are participants of RippleNet, a platform that enables XRP-based transactions. 40% of these partners use XRP for on-demand liquidity transactions. With 100, however, as institutional adoption does not translate to broad retail ownership, these numbers do not directly reflect the percentage of the global population that owns XRP. The small proportion of individual holders, between 0.06 and 0.076%, indicates that XRP is still a fairly specialized asset. This is just crazy now. If these figures are correct, which they most likely are, then less than 1% of the global population really owns any XRP. That is completely crazy, and you are all watching this video here today. It's likely that some of you have some XRP, which is fantastic. That puts you, quite literally, ahead of 99. That's amazing. Of course, there are several percentage points more when compared to something like Bitcoin. Bitcoin does have a global following and number of holders. So, of course, I asked Brock to respond to this query. How much XRP would you need today to be regarded as wealthy in terms of dollars if XRP were to eventually reach 30% of the world's holders? Thus, there are currently 8.23 billion people on the planet. With a 30% global adoption rate, there are presently 2.47 billion XRP holders. This implies that the number of XRP holders would have to rise from 6 million to 2.47 billion. A growth factor of roughly 411x is considered to be quite large. As of 2025, we can see that there will be roughly 57.7 billion XRP in circulation. Currently, a sizable amount of the supply is controlled by the top 1% of holders, with the top 10 addresses alone holding around 41%. Thus, it is clear that there are some very substantial holders of XRP. Therefore, calculating the amount of XRP required at 30% adoption is clearly not a simple operation. For this reason, we have these amazing AI tools. However, as you can see, There are roughly 24.7 million holders in the top 1% of the 2.47 billion total. Assume that while the amount of XRP held by the top 1% scales proportionately with the number of holders, the concentration is somewhat diluted by retail adoption. The minimal requirement is roughly 50,637, but if the top 1% of wallets now, or 66,000 wallets, possess 10% of the circulating supply overall, a reasonable estimate, this equates to 87,424 XRP per wallet. Therefore, the price impact will also be evidently fairly large, as its widespread adoption may lead to significant price increases due to demand. For instance, a post on X suggested that if XRP becomes a global bridge currency with a reduced supply, its price could reach 100. For instance, you would need XRP to reach a significantly higher price in order to be wealthy, such as having $1 million or more. With a highly speculative market cap of $114 trillion, $1 million divided by 506 XRP equals $1,976 per XRP. Perhaps $100,000 in XRP worth would be a more reasonable rich threshold. If you have 506 XRP, it would be roughly with 100,000 XRP, or roughly 390 now, you're likely to be in the top 1% 506 XRP threshold and might have total impacts worth between 10,000 and 100,000 USD, depending on your wealth target. RP is currently between $10 and $100. I want to be extremely clear now about something. Depending on the rate of global acceptance, I do think that a price objective of $100 per XRP is reasonable over the next 5 to 10 years. Although I don't think we'll experience this bull run, there is a possibility, albeit a slim one, but in the realm of cryptocurrencies, anything is possible. Therefore, I believe that placing yourself in the 1,000, 10,000 area is essentially positioning you for the possibility that XRP may become one of the most popular cryptocurrency solutions used globally. It does, in fact, allow you guys the chance to essentially make an amazing amount in the case that this number of XRP gets adopted globally, even though 30% is certainly a pretty high percentage. For my part, I like to state that I believe everyone should aim to hold at least 10,000 XRP. Make that your long-term objective. But if you have millions of dollars in money, you might be able to aim a little higher. However, that isn't financial guidance. That's simply what I think is a solid way to position oneself going forward, should XRP do what many of us on this channel think it will. As a result, I'm personally really enthusiastic about this possible future.